All right. Welcome, everyone, to a very special episode of the Let's Get Vulnerable podcast. This is a collab episode with the one and only Dr. Tara from Luvbites.
Woo!
Welcome.
It's Let's Get Vulnerable featuring Luvbites by Dr. Tara.
We are so excited.
Woo-hoo!
We've met on Zoom. This is our first time meeting in person.
Yeah, it's kind of like a blind date. But then I've always known I was attracted to Morgan.
Well, we always have had such good energy together. Even on our one Zoom call, it was like, hey, let's hang out.
Yeah, 100%. I was like, I need a Britney Spears in my life. It's Morgan.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I appreciate all the knowledge about attachment styles and you being the attachment expert, the authority of this topic. I feel like I can just learn a lot more on that topic from you. So I really appreciate that.
Oh my gosh. And same for you when it comes to sex. And what I love about you and your brand is let's make sex fun.
Yeah.
Let's make it enjoyable. Nothing is taboo. We could talk about it. You know, like I just feel like if there's ever a time where I'm like, oh, you know, maybe things are off or I need to spice things up, I can just go to your social media and it's just fun.
Yeah.
It just brings us energy. It's
and
the
it
best.
just goes, lick that beep, or suck that beep, or play with her beep.
You know, we need more of that in the world. And I think if you haven't listened to our episode from back in the day, you should go back and listen to it. But actually for the audience that's just meeting you, can you tell us a little bit about how you got into this work?
Yes. So hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Tara. I'm the sexpert. And I got into this work because ultimately I've always been curious and interested in sex and just different sexual acts as a person. I remember when I was young, which was in Bangkok, Thailand. Like that's where I'm from. I remember I would, try to like watch porn at home. But because I'm older, when I was young, it was like dial-up internet.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I was just always curious. I don't know. Were you curious when you were like 11? Were you like,
I was. I went to Catholic middle school.
Same.
I was
went
like
to
very
all
okay.
girls Catholic school.
Okay, mine wasn't all girls, but still,
Okay.
I think the message around sex, it was just very taboo.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my friends have this theory that like everyone that went to Catholic school turns out to be very sex positive.
Yes.
We just have to like figure out on our own. But yeah, so fast forward to I came to America.
Uh-huh.
I did my master's and PhD in human communication, but I've always studied relationships as well as like sexual attitudes and sexual satisfaction.
Mm.
I started my job as a tenure track professor at Cal State Fullerton, and I teach sexual communication. And when I started teaching sexual communication at Cal State Fullerton, my students have always been like, Dr. Tara, you're so funny. You should have social media. And so that was when I also started my private practice in sex coaching and started my social media and podcast. And here I am.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. And you were recently on the show.
That's right.
Celebs Go Dating.
Celebrity sexpert.
That's right.
UK's hit reality TV called Celebs Go Dating.
Oh my gosh. Everyone go check it out. I've only seen clips, but it looks so fun. I can't wait to watch it all.
It's hilarious. It really, that's the main purpose of the show. It's like you watch it and you just laugh. It's
perfect.
Funny.
I love it.
What about you? Share a little bit about you. I know that the people listening that are from Let's Get Vulnerable know you, but I feel like maybe they could get a little bit of refresher.
Yes.
As well as my people can like know Dr. Morgan.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah. My story was growing up, I really didn't have any good models for what a healthy relationship was. And I had a lot of my own childhood experiences where I developed fear of abandonment and just a lot of unhealthy patterns in relationships. And I would always see people in good relationships and think, how do they do it? I just don't get how to have a healthy relationship. And then actually I was getting my doctorate in clinical psychology in my second year. And I ended up dating a narcissist for a year and a half.
Man,
yes.
That's such a journey because, again, like a lot of narcissists are really good at sex. So, like,
Yeah. I mean, I think and what I love to point out about that is I was studying clinical psychology. Like this can happen to anyone. I knew what a narcissist would act like. I knew all the things, but they are so good at what they do. So it can happen to anyone. You know, I work with women who are doctors, lawyers, etc. It doesn't matter how intelligent you are. But anyway, so I got in that relationship. And then when that relationship ended, it was just my rock bottom moment. I was completely isolated from friends and family. And I had zero self-worth. And I just had to decide, okay, I need to heal.
mhm.
I cannot keep doing this. It was one of those moments, you know,
Yeah.
it's like this has to change.
Mhm.
And that's when I threw myself into attachment theory research. And I really started to understand what was required for a healthy relationship,
Mhm.
and embarked on my own healing journey. And now I've helped over 500 women at this point
Whew.
do the same thing.
I love that. That's amazing.
Thank you.
Because you know what? Like attachment and how securely attached you are to your lover or partner is so important in sex as well.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I should send basically all my clients to you and be like, go learn attachment first. See me later for some kinky stuff.
You know what I love about this? Because I know we're going to dive into this today, but just the idea that when we are securely attached, it really frees us up
Mm-hmm.
for more fun, for more play. You're
Mm-hmm.
more willing to experiment when you
Mm-hmm.
have that secure base.
Mm-hmm. I would say that's absolutely right because prior to the current relationship that I'm in, and we've been together 3 years, but we've been married just this past January. Prior to this relationship, I was not secure. And so the other things like the feeling of freedom or even, like having an orgasm and all those things, it was really hard. Like it's
Yeah.
work, it's really hard. But when I've worked on myself to feel more secure, now being playful and kinky in my relationship is easy. Right. So you
Yes.
got to have that basis. Like when you're more secure, it is 100% easier in other aspects of the relationship. Easier to communicate your desires, easier to
Yes.
introduce like new kinky things, easier to communicate about taboo topics. Like it really is like the basis of a good relationship.
It is. It is. Yeah. And I was thinking about too how you were just in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And even that is like a real world example of, you're off doing your thing, independent. And I don't know if your partner went with you, but just the idea of you get to be who you are in your career, not be afraid to
Mm-hmm.
explore in those ways too, right? It shows up in every area of life.
Every area of life. And I gotta credit like his open-mindedness and understanding and empathy a lot because I was with someone who was not comfortable with me sharing about our sex life to the
Mm.
public. But now with my current husband, like I literally talk about like his butthole on TV, on national TV. And he's cool with that because he's secure. And
I
he's like, that's
love
cool, Tara.
it.
Like, go live your life. Like, you tell him. And that is really, it's so refreshing for me.
Yes.
Now that I've like worked on myself, my sexual confidence, my basically feeling secure within myself, like I'm a free woman and I
Yes.
want to do what I want to do as long as I know it's not hurting you.
Yes.
So when I communicate that like, hey, I want to start telling people, all these things that we do so that I live by example, I lead by example, and I'm not just one of those people that talk about sex theoretically that don't have good sex.
Wow. So powerful. So,
Yeah.
so powerful. I
I'm a
love
big
that.
fan of people who like live what they teach.
Yes.
And I look up to those people.
I
I admire
agree.
those people. I admire you,
Thank
right?
you.
Like telling your story. I don't admire people who, have a whatever doctorate in whatever, but don't live the life.
It's so true. It
Yeah.
has to be in
Yeah.
alignment.
Like you can talk about anything theoretically, but
Yeah.
like, do you live that life? Do I aspire to have similar life as yours or happiness or way of thinking?
Are you
right?
modeling it? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. there's so much there in what you said. I'm like, we could dissect it all. I mean,
Yeah.
one of the things I love that you shared was working on yourself and then also having a partner too that wants to work with you. I mean, basically both of those are required. I think some people maybe they do realize they need to work on themselves, but then maybe they don't have the partner that wants to work with them, and maybe they don't have the partner that wants to work on themselves. What are your thoughts on that? Like, how important is it us taking ownership versus coming together as a couple and working on things too?
Gosh. Um, I mean, I think it's 50-50.
Yeah.
I think you really need to work on yourself, but you also can do much better with a partner that does too.
Because, yeah, your previous relationship, it sounds like you maybe had some awareness and like he wasn't ready to meet you where you were
Right.
at.
100%, because I started to notice that I wasn't sexually satisfied. I feel like we could work on this and this, but whenever I like mention working on it, he would like be very defensive, and he would get like, what would be a good example?
Like shut down.
Yeah, but not in an angry way. He's like a really, just as a person, he's a wonderful man. But when we're together and when I suggest anything regarding like relationship development and enhancement, he'll be like, "What's wrong with now?"
Mm.
Like, we're happy, we're healthy, we have a great relationship. What's wrong with it now? And that's
Okay.
hard, isn't it? When your
That
partner is like
is.
not evolving with you.
Yes, because growth is so attractive for one, right?
100%. I love people who are open to learning and growing.
Yes.
Because I am too. I don't
Right.
know anything. You tell me.
Right. Yeah. Like learning and growing. And then if you're not, you can just get stagnant. You just can feel kind of shut down, right?
What about you? What do you think about people who are listening who are now aware and who are working on themselves, but their partner was like my ex, was like in denial or like refused to look into this or work on themselves in terms of like attachment?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a challenging position to be in because we only can, have ownership over ourselves. And I think we can really, really love someone. And at the same time, if they're not open to growth and they're not open to working on things, it's really hard to remain in that relationship. I think
So you're saying just break up? Dump them.
I think ultimately, here's what I love in securely attached relationships where you communicate your needs, you show up, you are assertive, you say, this is what needs to be different for me. You give the person the opportunity to grow with you. And then you gather the data. And then if there is not change, then you leave. I think too often people are not expressing their needs. They're not saying, hey, this is how we could grow together. And then they're just ending the relationship because honestly, that's easier.
It is easier to just like
it's easier just to dip, right?
And ghost and
yeah.
all those things. Yeah.
So I love that even for your own self, even if that person doesn't grow at all, for your own growth to express what you need, I really believe in doing that first.
Oh, yeah. And I love that you said that because that is really the responsible adult person. That's what they should do.
Right.
Like, take ownership. You have to communicate your side first.
Yes.
And then it's on their court.
Yes.
They're not changing or evolving with you.
Give them the opportunity. Don't just predict that they can't change. Spell it out for them.
You don't want to give them an opportunity. What if you're like, I'm already emotionally and mentally done with you? Do you think people should still try?
It's a really good question. And I know we can get there. I think by the time you've gotten to that point, what I would recommend is stepping away for a bit.
Separate for a little bit.
Separate for a bit. See if you have any capacity at all to give feedback. And if you do, give feedback. And then if you don't, then there's your answer, I think, if you really are at that point. Yeah. Tough questions. I love it.
Isn't it? I have another question. I'm just like really curious. I have another question about Okay, like what if I am in my early 20s and I have heard a lot about attachment, and I know that I'm insecure. I know that I'm
Mm.
like anxious.
Okay.
I'm someone that needs a lot of like messages from my partner. I need them to like call me all the time to like check on me. I need them to
Yes.
like go to a lot of places with me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what would be like the first couple of steps of trying to not be that person?
I love this question. So I feel like with anxious attachment, I like to think of it as you have this reassurance bucket, right? It's like we all need reassurance, but your bucket has holes in it. No
Mm,
matter how much reassurance your partner gives you, you're not internalizing it. It's not landing.
mhm,
Um, so what do we do? One of the very first things I would want someone to do is learn how to self-soothe.
mm.
It's so important.
Can you give an example of self-soothing activity?
Yeah. And even before self soothing, it's like you have to learn how to go inwards,
Mhm,
right? You have to. So this would look like setting a timer in your phone 3 times a day, and you're checking in with yourself and you're saying, what do I feel? What do I need in order to be supported? And you're just rebuilding that relationship with you,
mhm,
like starting there. And then self soothing is learning what you need in order to regulate your emotions.
mhm,
And that's so different for all of us, isn't it?
mhm.
Like for me, it's a hot bath. Like
Ooh,
I know a hot
love a hot
bath
bath.
at the end of the day. My new home purposely has this big, beautiful bathtub
Oh,
because I need it.
oh my
What's
gosh.
your thing? What's yours like self-soothing thing that you think of?
Masturbation.
See?
Yeah. It's
And
very self-soothing.
that
I
is.
feel I feel really close to myself. Like I feel
Yes.
that self-intimacy. When I
Yes.
masturbate, I feel like I'm honoring my pleasure. I feel reset in terms of energy as well. Like I have more energy afterwards. I feel like I'm yeah, I think the biggest thing is I feel like I'm honoring my pleasure, which is a big part of my self-esteem.
I love that.
Yeah, cuz
Yeah.
I'm a highly sexual person, and I think
Yes.
neglecting myself by not self-pleasuring turns into me not loving myself as much.
I love that. I love that you share that. And I think there's so much out there, like with that not being okay for women. So I
Mhm.
specifically love that you're a woman and you're sharing that. It's so
Thank
empowering.
you.
Yeah. Women need to know this.
I know, girl,
Yeah.
masturbate. I
Yeah.
mean, you can combine the two, and that's really like,
There you go.
the the combination 12, please. The bath and the
Okay.
masturbation. I feel
Yes.
like that's mega self-soothing.
There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
And what I love about self-soothing is you have to say, I love myself enough that I'm going to experiment with what is right for me.
Mhm.
I'm going to take the time to learn what do I need in order to self-soothe because a lot of us at some point lost track of that.
That's
We
true.
filled up our lives with everything else and we don't even know, right?
Mhm.
So, and then once you know, you should always have that available to you. It needs to be in your toolkit, whether it's, taking a bath, going on a walk, a journal, masturbation, whatever it is, like you need to know those things ahead of time
Mhm.
so that they're available to you when you need them.
Yes.
So that's what I would start with anxious attached is get really good at self-soothing. And then the other thing they really need is to slow down in the relationship building zone. So, I always say,
Say
like,
more.
yeah, like you're going 75 and the 35 with anxious attachment. You go on that first date and maybe you're spending 4 hours together on the first date and
And you
just,
expect that every time.
right, you're like over investing. I always think like with anxious attachment, they need to slow down enough so that they're building a secure attachment that supports the investment.
Mm.
What happens is they're building a house of cards with anxious attachment, right? It's like there's not that strong foundation. So you have to slow down, be a love scientist, gather the data, and then learn, is this relationship worthy of my investment?
Mhm.
Has this person earned my vulnerability?
I think when it comes to slowing down and also self-soothing, like, making yourself feel good and not relying on other people
Mm-hmm.
all the time, it builds a much more solid like sense of self-esteem, like
Yes.
your self-worth, and that you're proud of yourself and that you can be with yourself and your own thoughts. I think it's very empowering. Well, remember when I was in my 20s, I had a period of time where I think all my friends joke about this. I went from one relationship to another, to another, to another, and I was never single.
Mm.
And eh, because I was pretty anxious. I would say I was, what is it called? Ambivalent, where you're like a little anxious, a little dismissive.
Yeah, disorganized attachment or fearful avoidant, either way.
Fearful avoidant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like there'll be moments where I'm like, oh, like text me 8 times a day. But
Yeah.
then there'll be moments where I'm like, give me space.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I
So
went through that as well.
what
Yeah.
was it like for you?
Yeah. In my 20s, it was a lot of really wanting closeness, really wanting the relationship, jumping from person to person for sure. And then at the same time, like, I call it like my bad bitch phase, like bad bitch energy of like,
Yeah.
I don't need anyone, get out of here.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to Cabo with my girlfriends, don't talk to me. Like,
Uh-huh.
so a lot of, swinging
Mm.
between those extremes. Very chaotic.
Why is it so much more common that people in their 20s are not securely attached?
Well, I think it's interesting, right? It's like there's a lot going on developmentally in our 20s. We're learning a lot about ourselves. Um and you know what? I do think there are securely attached folks in their 20s. They're probably just not dating as much. I think they're a little bit more probably focused on themselves or their careers.
Interesting claim.
That would be my hypothesis.
Wow.
This makes me want to do a research study.
Yeah, we should do it together.
Let's do it.
Yeah, my university will appreciate that. I'm on sabbatical right now, and I
Yeah.
feel like my boss is thinking, like, "Are you even working?"
You are. You are.
Yeah.
Well, I want to ask you something too. I was really curious about sex in early stages of dating because I get this question so much. How do you approach that with people when they're like, "Oh, well, when is the right time to have sex?"
Mhm. Love that question because we all experience that at some point in our lives, right? I have to share the two school of thoughts that are out there in sexuality studies when it comes to having sex in dating. The first school of thought is the sexual restraint model. And if you subscribe to the sexual restraint model, you're someone who's like, oh, I want to date as long as possible and build emotional intimacy with this person. And when I feel emotionally safe, then I want to initiate sex with this person.
Mhm.
So if you're dating a person like this, it will take a while before they initiate sex or talk about sex with you. On the other hand, the other school of thought, if you subscribe to that, it's called sexual compatibility model. People who subscribe to this school of thought are the people that have sex on like the first date or second date or just like early on in dating, because these are the people that value sexual intimacy as their like top 3 in partnerships. And they care so much about sex and how good the sex would be with the person. They use, sexual compatibility as one of like the top markers in determining if this is the right relationship for me. So if you subscribe to this school of thought, you're more likely to initiate sex early in dating. Could be after the first date, second date, maybe third, but I don't think it goes longer than that.
Wow, this is so fascinating to
Isn't
me.
it?
Yeah, of course I start thinking about attachment theory.
Oh yeah, we should see how it works together,
How it
because I've only
overlaps.
learned this part, and I know that this particular topic is a point of tension for a lot of people. I know women who feel like the guys they're dating just want to have sex, when in fact they could just subscribe to the sexual compatibility model. They want to know right away. And it's not like I'm using your body. It's like I want to know if we're good together.
It's very interesting because I do think with anxious attachment and avoidant attachment, you get those two together. And if you're in the compatibility model, that can lead to some really difficult experiences for people.
Yeah.
I see. So with secure attachment, I think you could really choose either one of these models and feel pretty good.
Yeah.
But I just think about how your attachment style might make you vulnerable to struggle with the compatibility model. It's just a thought.
God, that's true. Let's think about it. So let's say we're going on a date.
Okay.
Okay. And let's say I'm a little dismissive.
Yes.
And
I'll be the anxious one.
Yeah, and you're anxious.
Okay.
And let's say I'm dismissive and I also subscribe to compatibility model. I want us to like have sex on a second date, right? Like first date, fun, like lovely, you know, there's a vibe there. Maybe we did a little kiss. And then the second date, I'm like, hey, come over to my place.
Right.
Yeah. And with the intention of like, let's get it on.
Yeah.
How would you feel as an anxious, attached person?
So I think what happens is there's that fear of abandonment. I don't want you to break up with me. I want to see where this could go. Maybe I've already thought, ooh, this could be the one. We might be getting married and having babies. So I've already gone there in my head. So I might
by just like me like trying to have sex with you.
Yeah, so then I'm like, of course I will. So I'm making the decision based off, I don't want to be abandoned. I want you to like me. I don't want you to break up with me. And I might have already thought like, ooh, this is so good. This could be the one. So I'm making the decision not based in reality.
Oh my gosh. That's so fascinating.
So,
okay, so then on the other hand, let's say like, so I'm dismissive. Let's say we have sex.
Right.
And like I didn't feel it. Like we don't have good sexual chemistry. So I'm gonna try to like, hey, listen, like this doesn't work out.
Right.
Like, do you think there is like a good probability of this relationship working really well, or you think it's like too hard?
Oh gosh. I think with that, if I do have anxious attachment, I'm gonna really internalize it as rejection. I'm gonna really
like
think
it's your fault.
Yeah.
Like I'm not worthy. Not
I'm gonna think like,
desirable.
oh my gosh, I'm not good enough. Like they just, maybe they didn't like my body, or I'm just gonna really think
even
like,
though it's just about chemistry. Like we just didn't have sexual chemistry.
Yeah. And then I'll probably paint you as a villain and I'll say like, oh, they just wanted me for my body.
Damn.
This is what we run into.
Yeah,
this is the modern
is the real world. this happens literally every day.
Oh yeah.
This particular scenario.
Oh yeah, it does. And see, if we rewind and we go back to, okay, when the invitation for sex came up, if the anxiously attached person would say, hey, I need to feel a little bit more emotionally safe with you first. Like, I need to get to know you a little bit more. Like, slow it down just a little bit. And then the other person could say, well, that's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Or they could compromise and say, yeah, like, let's get to know each other more. Right? Like, that's a different route that a lot of people, they're just not communicating enough to choose that healthier route.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like we just solved so many people's dating issues. You're welcome, everyone.
You're welcome, everybody. Communicate your desires. Communicate what you're thinking about and see if you can compromise.
See if you can.
I feel like ultimately life and relationship is communication and compromise.
It is.
Like
it is.
It's
Yeah. And even thinking about sex, it's like, okay, for so many of us, that's like sex and money, right? Like those are some of the hardest things for us.
Sex and money.
Yeah, the hardest things for us to communicate about. But my goodness, how empowering when you can communicate about sex, because then you can talk about anything, basically, right?
I feel like I'm a free woman and I feel super liberated and I'm able to be myself and be playful and just say whatever I want because I've worked on my sexual self-esteem.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that contributes to a lot of like my vibe and
yes. Yes, I love it. It's just all connected, isn't it?
It is. It really is. I feel like I've learned in school, but I want to ask you again because it's a long time ago and I feel like research changes all the time. I've learned that a lot of your attachment comes from childhood and your parents. So, is it bad to hypothesize that people who are a product of divorced parents and, like, let's say tumultuously divorced parents
Mm.
have attachment issues?
It's it would definitely be accurate based on research that you would be more vulnerable to develop
Insecure attachment
yes.
style
Yeah, anxious, avoidant, or disorganized. Yeah.
because of the unstable
Yes.
parents when you were young.
Yes. Just the instability and even just the model for a relationship, right? Of like, okay, if there's conflict, then the relationship ends. So then your brain's taking that in as, wow, we don't work through things.
Yeah, peace out.
Peace out. So, yeah. And then new research too says your early romantic experiences have a huge impact as well on your attachment style, which I don't know about you, but my very first boyfriend was dating someone else the entire time.
Fuck.
And
Sorry.
I was like 16 and he like proposed to both of us in like the same week.
Oh.
So yeah, you know, I mean, those early dating experiences also can have a huge impact because people could have amazing childhoods, securely attached parents, but if your first early romantic experience was tough, you might develop an insecure attachment style.
Oh my gosh. I think that that's extremely accurate. I have not heard of this research, and now that I think about my first, I would say my first like real romantic experience, because before that I like had sex with other people, but it wasn't like a real romantic relationship where we're like boyfriend girlfriend. But with that first person, he abruptly ended things with me, and I was devastated.
Yeah.
I was so scrawny because I wasn't eating for weeks. My parents were really scared. I was so sad. And I remember after that guy, I was so anxious. But then something happened along the line that made me more dismissive. I think it's perhaps because I was anxious, and then I started dating this guy who was even more anxious than me.
Yes.
And then he made me feel like I felt, what's the word, put off by his like neediness. And then I grew like more distant and more distant.
Yes,
like,
that can
oh my God.
happen.
And I remember, this is hella toxic, but I remember I used to tell him, like, be a man, like,
Yeah.
be a man, be secure in yourself. Don't be needing me. Don't be clingy. And like, that's toxic. I know that now, but you know, what one can do when one's 18.
This is just such a really powerful example, though, of how those early experiences can really impact your attachment style.
Okay, I have a big question.
Okay.
So on the show that I'm on right now, Celebs Go Dating, there is a celebrity. His name is Adam Collard, and he's on Love Island. He was on Love Island twice.
Okay.
And he's always like finding love. And so we joke that he's a professional dater because he's always finding love. He's on Celebs Go Dating to like find love.
Love it.
But his reputation is that he's a fuckboy.
Okay.
What is going on with the attachment style here? Like, he's dating people, having sex with a bunch of people, and then keep leaving them. Like,
he keeps leaving them. Well, that would definitely point to either disorganized or avoidant attachment style. Yeah. And what I see a lot with celebrities, and he's a celebrity, right? Like, there can be a lot of devaluing of others, not in like a toxic way necessarily, but putting yourself on a pedestal and almost saying, well, like, this person was great except she's blonde and I wanted a brunette, or this person was great except they live in Arkansas and I live in Tennessee. Like, they'll find whatever they can to just kind of distance themselves from that person because the long-term intimacy doesn't feel safe. Emphasis on long-term, right? Like, they're comfortable with the short term. And then I think what happens is they actually have a fear that they're not a good partner.
Oh,
like, that's the deep fear. Like, I'm going to let you down. I actually don't want you to depend on me for long periods of time because I don't think I'm a good partner.
Oh, wow. So they are uncertain about themselves.
Yes.
As a partner.
And that's a lot of times the unconscious workings
Yeah.
happening.
Now we go into like a whole different realm too.
We're like getting Freud over here, like deep, deep
Yeah.
unconscious. Yeah.
Could that be from, because we now know from the show, it's already out in the episode. Could that be from when he was young? He was like fat and bullied.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. Another thing there too could be if you only knew the real me, then you'd reject me. So let me reject you before you can reject me.
Oh,
It's
I'm
that pushing away.
heartbroken for
Right.
everyone who's experiencing that, because
Yeah.
I mean, I guess at one point in my life I was kind of like that, but then really it started to like work on myself, really
Yeah.
travel inward. Like you said, it was a huge transformation.
This is at the core of so much of what we both do, which it comes down to really that self-love and self-acceptance, right? It's
Yeah.
like if I fully accept myself, then I will open myself up to be loved by someone else.
Yes. And then you have a positive model of yourself and others, and you
Yes.
feel secure to explore.
Yes.
Same with sex. When you have self-love, self-respect, you communicate your desires, you have the kind of sex you want, you start having pleasure, you start having multiple orgasms, and here we go. Like, now we're in the type of relationship that most of us want to be in.
And it starts with us. Absolutely. Okay, I want to ask you something. You've been asking me the best questions. So I know my audience would really want to know this, that if you are in, let's say, a long-term relationship over a year, and maybe things just are kind of off in the bedroom. It's not like they're terrible, but you're just not really getting your needs met. You're feeling a little bit dissatisfied. Maybe it's not happening as frequently. What's your best tip for how to approach that conversation with a partner?
The best tip is the shit sandwich.
Yes, I love the shit sandwich.
I think that applies to any topic that's uncomfortable for people to talk about. Not just sex, also money.
Yes.
Also family planning.
Yes.
There's a lot of topics that are hard to talk about. I think the shit sandwich applies.
Yes.
And for those that need a little refresher, shit sandwich is like where you say something positive about this relationship, the situation, or whatever. So in this case, say something positive about your sex life with them. And then, approach the new idea that you want to try.
The feedback.
The feedback and the new idea that you want to try as well. And then also end with another like appreciation or gratefulness of like their ability to listen and be compassionate to what you want to offer or want to try. So it can sound like you want to role play with me?
Sure, let's role play. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So first off, a prerequisite is whenever you want to talk about sex, you don't want to ever talk about sex right before sex, during sex, or right after sex.
Ooh, how many people do it right after?
They do all the time.
Oh.
It's a huge mistake.
Okay.
Because the brain is still in the state of like, we're in this sexual context.
Yes.
And you're telling me that you want to try something else. Doesn't mean that what we just did was bad. Doesn't mean I'm a bad lover. So then your brain immediately goes to, I'm not good enough. Yeah. And then it goes back to, the attachment part, and now you're feeling insecure. And so, no. You cannot talk about sex near sex.
Perfect.
Right. So that's a prerequisite. Let's say we're over coffee. We're at coffee. We've been dating, we live together. Let's go get coffee. We're now at a coffee shop. I can go with, this is priming. I was listening to this podcast by Dr. Morgan, Let's Get Vulnerable, the other day. And she had this lady on, Dr. Tara. And she was talking about yoni massages. Have you ever heard of yoni massages?
No.
Yeah, so it's fascinating. I mean, I'm gonna send you the link. Just like listen to.
I
listen to it
will.
next
I
time you
will.
drive to work, but it's basically an extended period of time of vulva massage. So like you massage my vulva and my vag.
Oh wow.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Oh, like you want to try it?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like I love the sex that we've been having. Like I feel like you're really good at eating me out. You're really good at kissing. Like I feel like our sex life is good. I also feel that it doesn't have to always be one thing. Like we can always evolve and try like new fun things, like this yoni massage that I heard from Dr. Morgan's podcast.
Oh, I mean, do you not like our sex then?
I love our sex, but I think, and I mean, would you agree that like, you know, for us to be together the next 30 years, we gotta try something else. It's like we can't eat sushi all the time. Sometimes we want pasta.
Yeah, I definitely hear you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm totally down to try it for sure.
Oh, thank you for like being receptive to, you know, what I'm asking you to do.
Yeah.
I
I
really
mean,
appreciate that.
yeah, I care about you and I really do want us to have a good sex life forever.
Yay.
I
And scene.
was trying to be a little difficult for
Yeah.
you. Just a little bit.
But it's the puppy eyes.
Yeah. Yeah, she got me.
Yeah, I think, you know, if you're in a relationship that is loving
Mhm.
and you're not with a narcissist or, you know, like,
Right.
there's some prerequisites to this kind
Sure.
of conversation. If you're in like a
Yes.
normal, healthy,
You're co-creating
like,
secure attachment. You feel good.
but it's just that sex is slightly boring, which is so normal. I think we need to normalize that, like,
Yes.
once you have sex with the same person and the same type of sex for a long time, it's just boring and it's okay.
Yes, it's okay.
It's okay.
And you can work
Yeah.
through it.
I love when my partner like introduces something.
Yeah.
Like
Comes
a
up
new
with
idea.
something.
Comes up with
Yeah.
something. Like,
Yeah.
oh, wanna, you know, watch this squirting video and try new squirting technique. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think someone who's willing to put in the effort to like bring ideas, it then shows you they care about it. It's the effort.
That's the key word.
Effort's hot.
Yeah. Effort is hot. Effort is sexy. Effort is fuckable. Like effort is key.
It is.
It's
It
so
is.
key. And I think it's key to passion in long-term relationship.
It is.
Is effort and I mean, according to Esther Perel, like some type of separateness.
Oh my gosh, I love you said this. One of my favorite quotes. I'm sure everyone on this show knows this quote, but it's the, desire needs a bridge to cross. And I think that's why so many people do end up not lasting long term is they're developing these codependent dynamics. They're doing everything together. There's no distance.
No,
You
do
know?
not do everything together.
No, do
You
not.
know what kills passion is when you spend every waking hour together.
Yes.
Like, how would you desire someone that you see 24/7?
Yeah, you can't
You
desire
literally
them.
cannot.
If they're on the couch next to you, there's no desiring them.
No,
Yeah.
no. You desire, like, I mean, this is so, it's elementary, but at the same time, when you are in a long-term relationship, you forget sometimes.
Yes.
But it's elementary. Like, you want the things you haven't had.
right.
You know,
You
and
need- yeah.
you can create the sense of that within the monogamous long-term relationship.
Yes.
I'm not in a monogamous relationship. I'm in a monogamish marriage.
Yes.
So that's
Yes.
different, and we invite other types of play. So for me, it's like I'm always desiring my partner, especially seeing that other people desire him.
Oh, that makes
That's a
lot of
whole
sense.
different topic, you
Yes.
know. Like I talk about being in a monogamish marriage, and there's always like immediately two camps of people. Like the first camp is interested, and the second camp is like that's immoral, or like that's they go
yeah.
to like that moral superiority.
Well, this sounds like
judgment.
another episode. We could do a whole long episode on it.
Yeah,
I think we
yeah.
should at some point.
I actually just was on The Sun. It's like
Oh,
the
yeah.
UK's
Sure.
UK's newspaper. It was like a huge feature, like middle 2 pages
Amazing.
about how like monogamish could be the future.
That's amazing. I
Yeah.
love it. Well, yeah, we should do another episode on it at some point for
Totally.
sure. It deserves its
Okay.
own episode.
For like, let's say, for my last question for you, let's say if I was to go through, actually, I'm just going to use this example from one of my long time ago clients. Let's say if my husband cheated on me,
Mm.
but we have a kid and we have a lovely living situation, and I love him so much and I want to forgive him, but I just feel so scared all the time
Yeah,
being with him. I'm
right.
scared when he goes on work trips. What do I do?
Oh, I love this question. Um, you have to both want to repair. So that's the first thing. Both people have to want to repair the relationship. There's been a rupture in the attachment,
Mhm.
so you have to want to repair it. And then there has to be the conversation of what is needed for the repair. And I think people surprise themselves on what it is that they need, right? So sometimes with cheating, it's that, what I need is that you would actually tell our friend group that you did this. I can't be alone in this anymore.
Mhm.
I need people in our friend group to know that this happened, right?
Mhm.
You wouldn't intuitively think that that's what's needed, but that's the beauty of like really tuning in and saying, what is needed for the repair?
Mhm.
And then you have to do the repair
Mhm.
and
What
work
would
to
be the
build.
reason why someone would want their friends to know?
Well, I say that one because that's actually happened.
Mhm.
And I think a reason could be just that they would just want to not feel alone in it.
Mhm.
And
Yeah,
that's
get
what they
social
needed. They
support.
needed the support. They needed people in their friend group to know that this happened. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like people think like, oh, if you cheated, then I'm gonna go cheat, or I don't know. They come up with
Revenge,
revenge,
infidelity. Yeah.
infidelity. But it's like actually just slow down and tune in and say what is needed to repair. And
Mhm.
then of course there's times where repair is not possible. But you have to tune in and try.
Is there like a clear sign when repair isn't possible?
When nobody wants to have conversations about what would repair look like,
Mm.
if the effort's not there to
Or what
work
if
on
they
it.
just like sweep it under the rug? Like,
Yeah, if
oh, we're
they're
fine
if
now.
they're
Like
defensive, if
2
they're
weeks
like, "Why are
later.
you not over this?" Right? If they're not willing to have the conversations, absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. We always have the best conversations. I love this so much. I do wanna ask you one more thing. This is just kind of like a fun question,
Okay.
but, what are you most excited about right now in your life?
In my life,
Yes.
I think normalizing sex positivity in mass media
Oh,
is
it's
what
so
I'm
good.
most excited about because I think it's time. I think the sex positive movement is very much like growing and rolling, and there's a lot of support, there's a lot of excitement, and a lot of just people wanting to be a part of this life, like the sex
Yeah.
positive life. And I
Yeah.
feel it, I hear it, I know it. So my goal is to put myself out there as much as possible and try to have opportunities like the Celebs Go Dating show. Like I'm the
Yes.
resident sexpert on that show and I'm able to talk about sex like nonstop, which I love. So that would be something I'm most excited about. Can I ask the same thing?
Yeah, for me, I think I am also excited about attachment theory. I'm always excited about attachment theory. More and more people learning about it. I had my book come out, Love Magnet,
Ooh.
and just the reviews coming in from that. I mean, I get so excited about people like really being willing to look at themselves and say,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to do the work and helping provide them that framework to do it.
Yeah.
That
Can
just
you
really
briefly
lights me up.
share the aspects of this book?
Yeah, it's all about understanding your attachment style, releasing your past. So, we do some deep work on just releasing your past relationships and then really giving you a blueprint for embodying the securely attached version of yourself of like, hey, here's what you need to do to show up this way. So, it's everything I wish I had in my 20s,
Oh, I
basically.
love that. And my Luvbites fam, everyone that's listening, you must get this book. Even if you think you have a secure attachment style, I think you can still benefit
Oh,
from
yeah.
reading about this. And also, I think it will give you tools to like help your partner be more
Yes.
secure as well.
Oh, and there is a big section on communication and teaching people how to use dialogue.
Nice.
So the practice of healthy communication between
Yes.
partners. So yeah, I love that that's out in the world. And then the podcast, of course, the Let's
Yes.
Get Vulnerable podcast, and lots of good things. So this has been so fun. I know we could
This is
talk
so
for
fun. We could
for
talk
days.
forever.
Yeah, we really could. It's just amazing to be in person with you and feel
Yeah.
your energy. I know you do so much for your community. Please tell everybody how they can connect with you, what they can, tune into. Give us all the things.
Okay, yes. So My social media is on my website. My TV show is on my website. So you can just go to my website, and that's luvbites.co, LUVBITES.co. What about you? Where can everyone find Dr. Morgan?
Yes. So I'm on Instagram at Dr. Morgan Coaching. And then also my podcast, Let's Get Vulnerable, anywhere podcasts are aired. Those are the two places I hang out the most.
Love that.
So,
I always forget to talk about my podcast.
yes.
My podcast, Love Bites by Dr. Tara.
There we
For
go.
sexploration.
Well, this was such a joy. Thank you so much
Thank
for this
you.
conversation.
High five.
High five.
Yeah.
All right. And to the audience, I always say this, we're wishing you high self-worth
Yes.
and great relationships, and we'll throw in great sex as well.
Yes. And an orgasmic day.
And an orgasmic day. All right. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.